I have a moment to play for you from Fox News' Outnumbered, where one of the hosts finally makes the point that I've been wanting to see people make, and I've been pounding the drum on so constantly. If you're a regular viewer of this show, you know it. We got to correct the record on crime, because right now, somehow, despite the facts not agreeing with their narrative, Republicans, Donald Trump, they're running a campaign about crime surging, when Biden has one of the most successful records on dropping crime under him that we've seen for a president in a very long time. Crime is plummeting on his watch, and we'll get into the specifics of that again after this clip. But you'll notice after this liberal host on Outnumbered makes a factual point, his co-hosts very much despise it.
Certainly, it's good advice to Democrats. Listen, the president had all major police chiefs to the White House just last month. Violent crime is across the board down in most major cities, and that's something we need to talk about, certainly, as Democrats. The highest jump in the homicide rate, the murder rate in this country annually happened in the last year of the Trump administration. It didn't happen in any of the Biden years over these last 3 years. So again, the president is running on his record. Donald Trump is a different situation than 2016, has a record he's got to defend as well.
I consider illegal fentanyl brought in by drug cartels and Mueller.
Do you notice? So they're all talking and they're all angry. Okay, but there are two things that I could hear from all the voices, and both of them are wild that they would bring it up, because I'll get into it and then I'll play a different clip from Fox News. Kayleigh McEnany goes, well, that's because of COVID. Yes, you're getting it. Yes, it was because of COVID. You're right. And do you know what you were doing for the beginning of Biden's presidency, when that pandemic era spike in crime was still taking place and it was still elevated crime rates? You were attacking Biden for it. You were saying it was because of the radical Democratic policies. But the largest spike happened under Trump, but you were blaming Biden for it. But when we bring up Trump and the spike that happened under him, one of the largest spikes in homicides in American history, homicide rates, you say, well, that's because of COVID. Good. Got it. Okay. Pandemic conditions created an environment where that spike could happen. Agreed. But then 2021, and 2022, you were attacking Biden for these elevated crime rates that were coming down. They were coming down from the peak, but we're still higher than they were pre-pandemic. And so your argument was, well, they're higher than they were pre-pandemic. Right, because of the pandemic. But now violent crime got down lower than it was under Trump before the pandemic. So before this public health, economic, and social crisis, the violent crime wasn't even as low as it is right now under Joe Biden. But then you can't find that to be impressive or give him any credit for it. You go, it's really wild. And wouldn't you be even more impressed? Because as Kayleigh McEnany brought up, COVID, remember COVID, she said it. Good point, Kayleigh. Keep that in your mind, hold it, and then think violent crime is currently lower than it was under Trump anytime in his presidency and near 50-year lows. Oh my goodness. And that's happening after the crisis we were dealing with. How the heck are his policies having that good of an impact on crime, right? Because we couldn't even get the violent crime that low before this horrible crisis that contributed to crime. Okay, I made the point on that very thoroughly, obviously. And so that's a really upsetting part, where they always can remember the context of COVID when judging Trump, the economic disaster that happened under him. But the second Biden comes into office, now every economic problem that came with the pandemic is Biden's fault. And no one goes, oh, wait, all those problems started under Trump because of the pandemic, okay, and his mishandling of it. And we're not going to say that all those things are his fault because of the context of the pandemic. But then now inflation's Biden's fault, gas prices Biden's fault, etc. Everything's Biden's fault economically. But then when the economy gets really good very quickly under Biden's stewardship, there's no credit to be given to him. Very dishonest. Now, the other point that was made was from Harris Faulkner, and she said, well, fentanyl's coming across the southern border. I guess she's not happy that crime has dropped significantly because fentanyl. Okay, well, since you brought it up, there are state-of-the-art fentanyl scanners that can catch smugglers trying to smuggle fentanyl through our legal ports of entry where the majority of fentanyl gets into the country. And those state-of-the-art scanners can't be installed because they don't have the resources to do so, because the bipartisan border deal that allocated such funding is being obstructed by MAGA Republicans in Congress because of Donald Trump. So maybe you should bring that up if you care about fentanyl being prevented from coming in the country. And let me just say before I play this next clip, first, please subscribe to the channel. Very important in growing the show. I know it's really easy for Fox hosts to slap down these statistics related arguments or economic metrics, pointing to them and saying, see, they just keep getting better under Biden and crime keeps going down under Biden. They can easily slap those down because people don't want to feel invalidated. And so their audience and just Americans in general, if they've felt pain because of crime or they've felt economic pain and they're experiencing that right now, it doesn't matter what the unemployment rate is or what the violent crime rate is. They felt the pain they felt. And so then Fox News can tap into that very easily and pull on those heartstrings to then manipulate them into voting against the very elected leaders that would help to minimize that very pain. And so when we talk about this, I always clarify, this is not to say you haven't felt the pain you felt on either of these subjects. It's to say right now, when we zoom out and look at these nationwide statistics, it's the Biden administration and Democrats' policies that are clearly making these issues better. And so if we stop that progress now and put in someone like Trump, those issues are just going to get worse. And so yes, the pain's real, but if we want to properly minimize that pain, we have to elect the leaders who are currently showing their ability to successfully do so. And that's the point being made here. And let me do a little analogy to a detective, okay? So we're staying in the theme of crime for this. If a detective took over as the lead detective for the department, all right? And their predecessor, let's just say for the sake of the story, he wore a lot of orange makeup, all right? So that's the predecessor. The current lead detective takes over. And each year, the percentage of cases solved under him keeps going up. And it's already now outperforming the average and outperforming his predecessor, but it keeps going up, that clearance rate. And he's not solving every single one of his cases because no detective does. But again, it keeps getting better. And so then a movement of people in the city say, gosh, this guy, he's doing some things right. We can see it in the data. And so we want him to stay the lead detective. And they're petitioning the city government or the police department saying, make sure you keep this guy as lead detective. Don't change anything on that front and figure out which variables he's doing something different with. And so that we can advocate for those to be maximized so that we can keep things going in the right direction. And then a news outlet starts covering this detective. And for some reason, they only ever cover the unsolved cases. And they say it's because the people who are excited about the trends going the right direction, things getting better, don't care about the pain that still exists. And like I said, this detective doesn't solve every case because no detective does, but a larger percentage than normal. But all this network will focus on is those unsolved cases. In so doing, they eventually convince the city population. This has become a really long analogy. Oh my goodness. I'm stuck in it though, so I gotta finish. And they convince the city's population that, oh, you're right, because I've felt pain because I have someone in my life whose case wasn't solved by this detective. And so, yeah, I keep being told that things are going the right direction, but I don't care because of this feeling I have on the subject. And so then this lead detective gets ousted. And then things get much worse and the cases go unsolved at an even higher rate. Was that necessary? I don't think it was now that I'm at the end of this, but here we are. And I have another clip to play for you, but you get the point. Fox News is trying to, by focusing on often real examples of people's pain, is trying to manipulate their viewers into voting for elected leaders that actually aren't going to serve those people's interests and make that pain less. And so because right now we're seeing the reason why data matters so much and zooming out and looking at the whole picture is because we need to figure out why it is that we are seeing these sorts of drops in crime and which cities are seeing bigger drops in crime, because it's not just about Biden, obviously. And look there, What are they doing correctly? Let's apply that other places. And let's figure out what it is that Biden's policies, Democrats' policies are doing correctly. And let's try to minimize the pain even more. And Fox News, by distracting from that with the very particular examples of the pain, are actually advocating for a world where this minimization of pain that could happen if trends continue in this direction under Biden and under these different city governments, whatever it might be, where that doesn't happen and things don't get even better. So that should be pointed out. Here's another clip from Fox News a few months ago.
Now, you also have to trust your gut. When I go out now, I take my wedding band off. I put it in my pocket because I don't want to get jacked. And I'm very athletic.
Think that they're going to do.
That's what you tell your wife when you forget to put it back on.
Stop it. Now, of all the things I said on the show, that's going to get me in trouble.
But you leave your watch on?
Oh, shut up, Dana.
Wow. Can I just say, the job of a public defender is to defend their client. They shouldn't have that job if it's...
Change the topic then, or change the title.
Yeah. Crime is not down. That's like saying inflation is down when it's...
What? That point at the end there. Saying crime's down is like saying inflation's down. Ugh. True, because both are true statements. That's the link between the two. Now, it's true that prices are still higher than they were previous to this spate of inflation. But do you remember what Kayleigh McEnany so correctly pointed out? COVID. Don't forget about COVID and everything that impacted, including inflation. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the like button, click the alert bell so you know when videos get uploaded.